Some seeds actually need light to germinate and others need it dark. Seeds germinate best when they're kept warm and moist. There are heating pads commercially available for just that thing, but I like to put mine on top of my fridge. It's warm up there and it's not in anybody's way. You check your potential seedlings every day, make sure they're kept moist, and then as soon as something starts to sprout, I move it downstairs to my, my grow lights and my plant stand. By the way, a sunny window is not a good place to start seeds. The light is kind of sideways, so your plants will get kind of sideways looking. It's too cold at night and probably too hot during the day. And here in Minnesota, we have very weak light in the spring. So grow lights or some sort of lighting system is really best. As they grow, your seedlings at first, you need to keep them lightly watered, and I mist or spray them. Then you gradually extend how much time and how much water you give them and how much time in between watering, so that you're kind of aiming for a couple of times a week, a good soaking. Keep your light source near, but don't let it touch your seedlings. And there really is no need for special grow lights. I have just a plain old shop light that you see in the picture here. I have mine set for 16 hours of light, and it's on a timer. You might want to transplant things as they outgrow their containers. One thing about tomatoes, which I think is really cool, tomatoes you can bury up to their hairy little necks. They don't mind. Everything else needs to be at a certain level in the soil, and you don't mess with that. But tomatoes, you can take off their lower leaves if they get a little spindly and bury them up to their necks. All those little hairs turn into roots. It's cool. When you transplant, don't grab the seedling by its stem. Make sure you tap it out. Turn it upside down and tap it out instead of grabbing it by its stem. And by now you should be watering once or twice a week, and that should be enough. And you can also fertilize if you want. When you think it's time to move outside, move your plants outside, you have to do what's called hardening off. And this is where a lot of people who start seeds have issues. So far your plants have lived in the lap of luxury. They haven't had to deal with rain or wind or lack of water. They haven't had any cold days. They haven't had any windy days. And now all of a sudden they have to be outside. So you have to get them used to the cold, cruel world. This is what is called hardening off. So a week or two before you begin to plant, you start putting them outside for short periods of time. I usually start with an hour, give or take, depending on if it's a windy day or a rainy day, or too hot or too cold. You gradually increase the length of time that these plants are outside and gradually increase the conditions they have to face. So for a day, it might be an hour. The next day or the next time you get them outside, it might be a couple hours. If it's a nice day and it's not too windy, they can maybe handle a few hours. So if you have a sheltered area, such as I do on my deck, they can be outside most of the time. However, remember that if you have them covered or in plastic, too hot, too cold, too wet could spell disaster. It could go very bad very quickly. In my covered shelves, I leave my plants out unless the temperature is going to the 30s, and this is toward the end of May, so it might. And if it's a windy day, I keep them in there. If it's not too windy, I put them out on the deck table. So then once you have them hardened off and you're sure the danger of frost has passed, which I figure is Memorial Day, but some people are braver and plant earlier, you can plant them in your garden bed. If you have season extenders such as Walla Waters or a cold frame, or if you're willing to cover your plants if it frosts, go ahead and put them out earlier. Follow the suggestions again on the seed packet for how close together to plant them. This experiment that I did had a landscape fabric showing where to plant, and I would not normally use landscape fabric for planting, but this is what it was. The actual layout of your garden is another topic for another day. Try to plant on a day that's not too windy or too hot, and all plants will suffer a little bit when you transplant them. They will have transplant shock. So for the first week, try to water more frequently, every day or every other day, depending on the conditions, and they should perk up in a few days. A mulch such as grass clippings or straw in between your plants will keep the weeds from growing, keep the plant's roots cool, and keep moisture in the soil. I hope this was helpful for you. Thanks for joining us.